Hi, my name is Offbeat Outlaw, and before we get into our today's discussion of Catboys, real or fake in the world of Dungeons & Dragons, I would like to give a brief moment to thank our sponsor, the people. That is right! For the past year, I have been 100% supported by YouTube and Patreon. So if you would like to continue to support this channel, what I do, and all my streams, and all my content that I make, please consider supporting me on Patreon. That is the thing that helps me out the best. Link is in the description, and you'll get to see all of my videos 24 hours early. With that out of the way, let's get into the most difficult discussion, and it's gonna be surprising. Are Catboys real in Dungeons & Dragons? The answer is ask your DM. Now this is an answer that will be given to almost every variety of this question. Does this exist in Dungeons & Dragons? Does X exist? Does Y exist? Does MX plus B exist? Surprisingly, yes, but it's weird. If you ask anyone who plays D&D, does this thing exist in D&D? The answer will invariably always be ask your DM. On a rare occasion, though, you'll get the real answer. The real answer is no. Sometimes it will, but more often than not, whatever you're asking is fantastical and lovely and a beautiful idea of your own imagination, or it's something from the real world. And the answer is almost invariably going to be no if it's the latter. And if it's the former, there's a chance, but it might not be in the way you like. So why, if the answer is usually no, does everybody I know who plays D&D, including myself, usually say ask your DM? Well, that's because that no with the other answer comes with an asterisk, and that is not yet. It can exist in the world of D&D, but you'd have to ask your dungeon master, because the only thing that exists in Dungeons & Dragons is this! That is right. This is my book collection. There are more books, but what are those? Well, those are the rules. That is the only thing that is concretely exists within the world of Dungeons & Dragons. All of those rule books amongst others, but that's it. And as you can probably tell from looking at that, there's a lot that does exist in Dungeons & Dragons. There are monsters and spells and magic and people and cultures and identities and places, things, so many things. But compared to the infinite that could possibly exist, it is nothing. No amount of books could be written to possibly encompass the everything that exists within the real world, within your impeccable imagination. So what does that leave these books as? Well, starting points. Very fudgy starting points. The thing with these books is that they are very good. They encompass a lot. They certainly are capable of ruling a large number of scenarios that could potentially crop up in your average game of Dungeons & Dragons. Combat encounters, people, places, magical items, artifacts, dungeons, falling from the sky, flying through it, diving deep into the ocean. There are tons of rules that do exist, and then an infinite amount that don't exist. And when you put it like that, all of a sudden, I feel like it really puts in perspective of how little actually does exist within Dungeons & Dragons. For example, the most incredulous of all, there are no rules that govern flight in Dungeons & Dragons. There's one rule, it's in the dungeon, it's the Dungeon Master's Guide. It governs travel time while flying. It does not govern combat while flying. It does not govern anything that you would actually need to know about flight while flying. For example, diagonal travel, flying directly upwards. How does height work? None of those rules exist within Dungeons & Dragons. I think that perfectly exemplifies how incomplete that is. But just in case you aren't convinced, what about the rules of physics? The rules of physics, as we know in the real world, do not exist within Dungeons & Dragons. And let me prove it. The most notable example is, of course, I feel a little bad calling this an Offbeat Outlaw channel trademark, but it is something that I popularized on TikTok at least a summer ago. The peasant cannon. How does it work? Well, basically, you get a long line of people and you stretch them all out. Let's just say that this is X number of people. So you get X number of people and you stretch them out over Y distance. Y distance is simply X, the number of people, times 5, because 5 feet. Meaning that your distance is however many people times the number of feet they occupy in feet. Therefore, that's how long your distance is. Y equals 5x. This is mx plus b. Remember how I mentioned that at the beginning? Here's the kicker. Here is the real kicker. You see, something really interesting happens with the peasant canon. You get this long lineup of people, you get X number of people lined up, and then you give them an object. You tell everybody in front of the line to do the following. Ready and action. Ready the action, pass the rock. Now, the funny thing about readying actions is that they are reactions. They take place on someone else's turn, meaning that everything that is about to transpire will happen in 6 seconds, and it will only happen in 6 seconds. Nothing more, nothing less. As soon as the first person gets the rock, they will pass it. And then that person will immediately pass it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. All along the line, all X number of people will pass that rock, and it will all happen in 6 seconds. This means with a long enough line of people, you could get that rock going at the speed of light. You could get it going faster than the speed of light. And if something can go past the speed of light, you have broken physics, because nothing should be allowed to, if it has mass, it cannot travel faster than light. If you don't understand that, you are not allowed to argue with this in the comments, because that's how physics works. Even if you were to have a car moving at the speed of light and it had high beams shooting light, shouldn't the light be moving at double the speed of light? Nope, it moves at the speed of light. That's it. Isn't that weird? It is. That's how light works. It's constant. You can't go faster than it. Yet in Dungeons & Dragons, I have just shown you how not only can you go faster, you can go as fast as you damn well please, and it will take place in 6 seconds. And the funniest part about all of this is that once you get to the end, the guy at the end will only be able to throw the rock 60 feet. 60 feet! So not only did this rock just go from light speed to 60 feet in 6 seconds, there's no conservation of momentum, there's no conservation of energy. Physics as we know it does not exist in Dungeons & Dragons. And if you would like to argue with me that it does, after the argument I presented, you must first show me your PhD, because I'm not gonna waste my time. Now that we've confirmed not even physics exists in D&D, I think we can understand just how much doesn't exist. But all of this to say, this long rant about physics and D&D and whatnot, does this thing exist in D&D? Not yet. Because the only thing that exists is the rules, and the rules are incredibly limited. So we will inevitably say, ask your DM. Because dungeon masters play a very unique role in the game. Nothing exists in the world until they say it does. Meaning they can say anything exists within the world, including the railgun you want, the revolver pistol, the cowboy hat, and yes, the Catboy. Yes, I know tabaxis exist, but they are feral and ugly. I'm speaking specifically about Catboys. So, if you are a new player and you've stumbled across this video, hello. This is probably a weird video for you, but welcome to D&D. Thank you for watching, and let your imagination run wild. Talk to your dungeon masters and make it happen. The last thing any DM wants is to look at someone. I mostly play for adults. Like, I mostly DM with my friends, and I'm 22, so most of my friends are like that age. The last thing that I want to do is look someone dead in the eye. Someone who has probably just discovered their imagination for the first time again since they were a kid, and then tell them that their beautiful idea can't exist. So to everybody who has just discovered their imaginations again, it can exist. Doesn't exist yet, but it doesn't exist yet. That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a really strange, this is a different style of video. Let me know if you like this video. Post it in the comments, share it with your D&D group, share it with your new D&D friends, you know, if they're interested. Show them this video, show them the crazy man with the wacky hair. Trust me, no matter what insult they conjure, I have definitely made a better one about myself before. You gotta step up your game. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a treat talking about D&D. Let me know if there are other cool ideas you want me to talk about in this game. Get the fuck out of my house.